Oftentimes, y'all will hear me say something along the lines of, keep this person on the radar. Because it might not be someone that you're familiar with, but it's definitely someone that is worth addressing. Well, not even worth addressing, so to speak, but just keep them on the radar. So as many people may or may not know, this weekend is the NFL draft. I'm recording this video on April 27, 2024. And the NFL draft is currently going on in Detroit, Michigan. And it's seen as a great time for a lot of male athletes going into the NFL post college or whatever the case may be, fulfilling and going and with their dreams. But sometimes there's always going to be that one person or some people that's going to try to find a way to drag you down by saying some of the most craziest things. So this clip went viral on social media, mainly due to the post that went along with it. So in this image, you see a man by the name of Malik Nabers. He just got drafted. I'm not entirely sure who he got drafted to, but congratulations to him. And in this image, he decided to show off his chain that says Leak on it. And he has a jacket that he opened up, and it has some imagery in there. I think it's him and some of his teammates. I believe maybe some of his family in there as well. This reminds me of what Will Smith did on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air back in the early 90s and the earlier seasons, when he had his jacket that he wore that he turned inside out and it had a design on it. Had everybody wanting to have a jacket like that. Had people believing that jackets came like that, not really realizing they were custom made. But it is what it is. It was a fashion statement. And it's still interesting to see that it's carrying on to this day. But you have this person who I never heard of until today, named Nick Adams, and has the nerve to call himself an alpha male, decided he was going to make this post right here, saying confidence is a necessary trait in a receiver, but this crossed a line. This is thuggish arrogance. One of the many reasons I don't have a first round grade on Malik Nabers. He sat up here and called this black man who just got drafted into the NFL saying that he was displaying thuggish arrogance. Let that sink in. Now, we know when they say the word thug or thuggish, and when it's pertaining to black men, we know what that's code speak for. And everybody else in the comment section who was checking him knows exactly what that meant too, because black people were telling him, why don't you just go ahead and say it? We know you want to say the N word, and not just the one with the A on it, but with the one with the ER. We know that's what you want to say. Just go ahead and say it, because that's really what was on his mind. How was this man showing off his chain with his nickname? Because most people whose name is Malik, seemingly is the nickname that they give themselves or someone gives them. And him wearing those glasses and showing off the inner part of his jacket, how was that thuggish arrogance? Again, whenever black people are successful, they always have to say we're being arrogant, we're not being humble, or basically, just take a step back. We're not allowed to just express ourselves in our own success without them having something to say. That goes back to when I was talking about with people like, Angel Reese and everything like that. They constantly always attack black athletes when they're just doing what they're known to do. If they know that they're good or they want to show off, let them go ahead and do it. Him showing off his chain and his jacket was not harming anyone or himself. But apparently it made this Nick Adams, this so-called alpha male, feel some type of way. Now, he calls himself an alpha male, but this is what he decides to have a gripe with. But he's an alpha male. He could have just simply congratulated this man and kept it moving. Or if he felt like that, he could have kept it to himself. But it's not enough to just keep it to yourself. You have to express how you feel, and others express how they felt when he said what he said, because he posted this at 7:40 p.m. on April 25th, 2024, 2 days before I recorded this video, and it's sitting at over 3 million views, and not in his favor, but because people were clowning him and checking him as they should. Now, I told you I never heard of this Nick Adams before in my life, but his handle name is Nick Adams Alpha Male, but his username says Nick Adams in USA. So because they're on the radar now, I decided to do a little digging in. Let me tell you something. I did not have to go very far to find out some very interesting things about this Nick Adams and why he probably should have kept his mouth shut. So before we go any further, notice when I said his name on X, it says Nick Adams in USA. Well, it turns out Nick Adams is not even a American-born citizen. He's from Australia. As a matter of fact, he just became a US citizen back in 2021. Yes, just about 3 years ago. So he hasn't been over here very long. But I found this to be interesting too, because apparently he had some kind of quote unquote political career, but then again, don't they all? It says, when Adams was a city councillor, he privately expressed the goal of eventually becoming the Prime Minister of Australia, which would probably been a disaster. In 2009, the Liberal Party of Australia threatened to suspend Adams from the party for 6 months for conduct deemed likely to embarrass or cause damage to the party during an altercation with Brett Mason, a journalist for Channel 10. Mason was filming a report on Adams' absences from the council due to overseas travels when Adams confronted him, stating, "I would just like to say that Brett Mason is a blank for good for nothing blank." So he definitely cursed him out or said something very derogatory right there. Then he finishes off with "thank you." However, Adams claims he resigned from the party before he could be suspended. Adams resigned from Australian politics in 2012. President Donald Trump appointed Adams in 2020 to the board of the Woodrow Wilson International Center for Scholars. Some members of the center's staff have found Adams' presence on the board to be an embarrassment. Now keep in mind, he was seen as an embarrassment here, and he was also seen as an embarrassment here. So it just seems to me wherever this guy goes, he's just bad for business. And it closes off with Adams' travel with the center's board to Israel in 2023. So he just seemingly just goes wherever he feels the wind could blow and everything like that. But you gotta wonder, in 2009 he was in Australia. It said he resigned from Australian politics in 2012. Then he was appointed to the board of Woodrow Wilson International Center for Scholars in 2020, and then it said he traveled with the Center's Board for Israel in 2023. So I'm trying to figure out, when did he get, like, between 2012 and 2020, what was going on if he came over here or he became a citizen in 2021, which means he was probably already here, but it didn't go through and officially become a citizen until the following year. Well, according to something else that I found, allegedly this was going on too. So according to this right-wing cope, which I believe is like a troll account for people who are part of the right wing, basically people who basically a troll account for people who don't like right-wing politics. And this is alleged because I really didn't see this anywhere else, so this is alleged. It says, bombshell, Nick quote-unquote alpha male Adams fled Australia after selling MDMA to an undercover cop in 2018. And for those of y'all who don't know what MDMA is, it's basically a form of ecstasy, basically a narcotic of some sort. When I looked it up, it was this very long word that had a whole bunch of letters in it. I couldn't pronounce it, but I did notice that methamphetamine was in there, so I did recognize that part. But again, I didn't really see this anywhere else, so I don't know entirely how true this part is, but this is alleged. But if it is indeed true, a very interesting story to tell. Now, this was posted in January 2023, which was the same year that he did that thing with Israel as specified on that other piece that y'all just saw. So if this is true, and even if it isn't, that doesn't take away the account of what this man said about Malik Nabers, saying he was displaying thuggish arrogance. Because to me, it sounds to me like this guy displays thuggish arrogance his damn self. And not even arrogance, but just being a thug himself. I always told you that word does not just apply to one group of people, but they'll have you to believe that it only should apply to black people. Now, this post right here is exactly why I can't take these shills seriously, whether they lean politically to the left or to the right, because you end up with stuff like this. So Nick Adams, and this is before he decided to declare himself an alpha male, because only he would declare himself that. No one else is calling him that but him. On August the 10th, 2022 at 9:57 p.m. he wrote this on Twitter: President Trump has never lied. President Trump has never committed a crime. President Trump is always right. President Trump's only fault is being too honest, and his only weakness is loving America too much. Everything that he wrote about this just displays brown nosing and kiss ass. And all because he got appointed to some kind of position that looks like it could have been an intern spot. Because I never heard of what Trump appointed him to. I never heard of it before a day in my life. But okay, fine, whatever. And this is the route that he has to take. But like I said, this is the thing I can't stand about these shills. Because you post up things like this and none of it is even factually true. To sit up here and say that this man has never lied, come on now. Let's be real with ourselves. Nick Adams is lying to himself just on that first post alone. Like, I don't even have. If that was the only part I saw of this whole tweet, I wouldn't even bother reading the rest of it. If they had to do a line by line thing, I wouldn't read anything else, because already right there he's being disingenuous. And speaking of being disingenuous, look at this right here. This is Nick Adams' banner on his X account. It says President Trump's favorite author. Now you know he's lying to himself saying that, because Trump is only a fan of one person and one person only, and that person is Trump. He is a fan of himself. I wouldn't be surprised if this man went out and told people he wrote that Bible that he's trying to peddle. I wouldn't be surprised if he said that. That's the type of person he is. That's how he was before he became president. That's how he was when he was president and after. And if he gets back in again, that's just who he is. But I just wanted to give y'all a little rundown of this Nick Adams person. I know it kind of segued a little bit from the original topic, but like I said, when it's a brand new person, we got to do a full, like a little examination. And I bet you there's so much more about this guy, but I'm just giving you a little bit right there to go off of, just in case that we have to spin the block on Nick Adams again in the future. And something tells me it might actually happen. He opened up a can of worms with that post. We know exactly what that means. We know what it means. When you call a black person a thug, specifically a black man, and it comes from a person like him. Again, this man is from Australia. He's only been in the US since 2021. He most likely still has his Australian accent, his Aussie accent. That ain't going nowhere. But when you decided to call this man Malik Nabers, saying he was displaying thuggish arrogance, one, he doesn't even know who you are. Two, he's going to be very successful, way more successful than you will ever be. And three, I think the thing that got me the most is the fact that he said this about this man while calling himself an alpha male. I think that's the part that really got me the most about that part. Was like, you're calling yourself this while disrespecting this man who just got drafted into the NFL. The alpha male thing that you could have done or should have done, if you want to call yourself an alpha male, was just simply congratulate him. That's all. But oh no, him opening up a jacket to show off the inside of the jacket and his chain and his glasses, that was thuggish arrogance. Okay. Well, Nick Adams, congratulations. You are officially on the radar.